Very much, Curtis. And like I said, this is a workshop, and so today we have our leader, which is going to be Mr. Kenneth over here.
Yeah, thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Kenneth. I'm a grateful recovered alcoholic.
Hi, Kenneth.
And today is a great day. I say a great day to be sober, and I'm only sober by God's grace and His mercy. I never forget that. You know, I'm thankful that I realize that without His grace and mercy, I wouldn't be sober. So I can't take the credit. This is a workshop, and the topic is part 2 of a different basis. Because last month, we had so much information to cover that we couldn't cover it all. You know, and we was talking about a different basis. But before we could get to that, we had to, you know, kind of like explain what we was talking about. So for the benefit of any and everybody who was not here last month, we're going to do just a brief recap on what we did last month, so we can catch up with where we at now, and so we can get a gist and a good understanding of what this topic is and how important it is, especially in understanding step 3. You know, I would say it's crucial for understanding step 3, because that's one of the reasons why they asked this double-barrel question. Just what do we mean by that, and just what do we do? That's why they asked that, because it's crucial to have some kind of basic understanding as to what they was talking about. Now, when you look, if you have a book, you turn to page 60, and you're going to see on page 60, from page 60 to page 63. From 60 to 63. When they at the last paragraph, when they tell us that any life run on, the first requirement that we be convinced that any life run on self-will can hardly be a success. On that basis, we are almost always in collision with something or someone or somebody. That statement right there it carries more weight with it than what meets the eye. He said, on that basis. Now, we're going to go through these words. Now, that's not the only thing he mentioned. Throughout 60 to 63, we're not going to read all of that. We're going to just give you a general idea of what's in there. This is what he mentioned, between 60 and 63. He said, on that basis, first of all, we're almost always in collision with something or somebody. On the next page, or further on, or at the bottom of that page, he said, how you say it? Somewhere he said, how did he put it? When he said, we have always made a decision based on self, which later placed us in a position to be hurt. Y'all remember that?
Yes.
We made a decision based on self, which later placed us in a position to be hurt. He used the word basis, then he used the word based. You know, then he used the word basic. What is his basic trouble? That's the question that they asked. All of this is between page 60 and 63. What is his basic trouble? Then he said, our troubles are basically of our own making. You see, our troubles are basically of our own making. All of this taking place between 60 and 63. Later, in the 5th step inventory, he used the word base. And he used the word base in connection with sex. You know, a base necessity of procreation. But these 4 words is used between 60 and 63. So let's look at this before we move on and see why Bill used these different words and for what purpose. This word basis, definition, something on which another thing is based or established. That's the meaning of that word. Something on which another thing is based or established. The word based, B-A-S-E-D, it means having a specified type of basis. Now pay attention to this base thing, how you're using these interchangeably. The word basic, because he said, what is this basic trouble? Notice, he didn't say, what is his trouble? He said, what is his basic trouble? Meaning, it ain't the trouble you see. Because base is something that's based on something else. So it ain't the trouble that you see. He said, what is his basic trouble? And this word basic means of, relating to, or forming the base or essence, constituting or serving as the basis or starting point, the most important part of something, having the character of a base. That's what that word means. And the word basically, he uses that word too, because he said our troubles are basically of our own making. Now all of these words is used between 60 and 63. Bill is pointing our attention to what's unseen. He is pointing our attention to what's unseen. The word basically means at a basic level, in fundamental disposition or nature, for the most part, altogether, chiefly, largely, mainly, mostly, predominantly, primarily, principally. That means our troubles are all of this. They arise out of ourselves. And the alcoholic is an extreme example of self-will run right. Okay, this is a brief rundown of what we was doing last month. Page 60 to 63 can be summed up summed up in one statement. Self manifesting itself in various ways. Because he's talking about the person who wants to always run the show. He's always trying to do this. He get pissed off. He does all of this here. It's self manifesting itself in various ways. And everything that he's talking about, all these examples that he's given us, is indicative of something else that's going on, basically. All of the troubles that we're looking at, that they're giving us, are external factors. It's an outward sign of my inward condition. You know how a person pick up a desire chip? It's an outward sign of his, how do you say it?
Inward commitment.
It is what?
Inward
Inner commitment, right? We see him picking up the desire chip, right? But that's an outward sign of the inward condition. So page 60 to 63 is giving me an outward sign of our inward condition. I'm demonstrating physically through my interactions with other people what's really going on with me inside, which you don't see. And that's why the battle is not to take place on the physical plane. Y'all ever heard that old expression? It's an inside job? And that's what he's pointing us to. What's going on inside. So that's a brief rundown on what we was talking about. So they say, on that basis, we're almost always in collision with something or somebody, right? Basically, it's dealing with all my different interactions and relationships with other people. So what we want to do is bring out what we couldn't bring out last month. Because now we're talking about, the topic is a different basis. See, we already, from 60 to 61, we already see where we at, how we in collision with this one and with that one. In turmoil, I can't make a living, all of this kind of stuff. I can't be of real use to other people. So we see what's going on from that perspective, because that's the basis we was running on. But the topic is a different basis. Now, in order to make sure we complete it this week, we're going to talk about the different bases. Now, if you got a 12 and 12 and a big book, you can keep up with this. Because we're going to show what kind of basis we are on now. We was on that basis, some of us can relate to that. Always trying to run the show, always in collision with something or somebody, right? Drunk at every hand, high at every hand, never, no responsibility, no nothing, right? Ain't caring about what nobody think. Most of us can relate to that. Am I right or wrong?
Yes.
All right, so, but the topic is a different basis, so we want to see what happened. And what the book says, how we on a different basis. This is what it tells us. On page 76 in the big book. This is when we're going through the 9th step. They say we may feel diffident about going to some of them on a spiritual basis. These are the people who we have harmed. And now we attempting to make amends. See, like my sponsor used to say, the person or the personality that's making the amends ain't the same personality that did the harm. There's a change that took place. Y'all hear me there? So we may feel diffident about going to some of them on a spiritual basis, especially people who I owe money to. I'm going to them, I owe them $500 because I done beat them out their money, and I'm going to them and telling them I done found God. But I ain't got their money. You see what I'm saying? We may feel diffident about going to some of them on a spiritual basis. I might have to make an actual demonstration. He said in the 12 and 12 page, the 12 and 12 tells us on one of the pages that, well, we're going to get back to that one. Let's stick with the big book. Page 44 told us to be doomed to an alcoholic death or to live on a spiritual basis. Remember this word basis. Or to live on a spiritual basis are not always easy alternatives to face. Yet that was the condition what most of us was in. We was in that condition, you know. It was either this or that. Go on to the bitter end or accept spiritual help. Now page 127 in the family afterwards. This is what they tell us. As each member, now this is after I've been through the steps. As each member of a resentful family begins to see his shortcomings and admits them to the others, he lays a basis for helpful discussion. Notice how it's covering all ground, mostly all ground in our interpersonal relationship. And in the chapter to the wives, on page 118, this is what they say. If your husband is trying to live on a spiritual basis, he will also be doing everything in his power to avoid disagreement or contention. Y'all heard that? Mm-hmm. If your husband is trying to live on a spiritual basis, he will also be doing everything in his power to avoid disagreement or contention. Alcoholic, just getting sober, can't handle power-driven arguments at the home. Emotionally driven arguments at the home. He's going to be doing everything in his power to keep from going to that. Right, Brad? Huh?
Yeah.
Page 146 to the employers. Notice it's touching to the wife. It's telling the family afterwards. To the wives. To the employers. It's talking about our interpersonal relationships with other people. Y'all see this? And it's giving us different examples of how we react. That's the magnificence of this book. And how connected it really is. He said, being on a radically different basis of life, he will never take advantage of the situation. In other words, on a job, he won't take advantage of the situation that he used to take advantage of when he was drinking and smoking. Y'all hear me? He can be put in certain positions of trust and he won't take advantage of those situations because he's on a radically different basis. 12 and 12. Well, since y'all right still in the big book, let me go to page 68 of the big book. 68. They tell us, for we are now on a different basis. The basis of trusting and relying on God. Now, the big book, page 135, in the family afterwards. Whether, he says, whether the family, now this is important, whether the family goes on a spiritual basis or not, the alcoholic member has to, if he would recover. I'm going to repeat that. Whether the family goes on a spiritual basis or not, the alcoholic member has to, if he would recover. Now, in the 12 and 12, on page 72, they say we never thought of making honesty, tolerance, and true love of man and God the daily basis of living. We never thought of making honesty, tolerance, and true love of man and God the daily basis of living. And that's correct. Because I never thought of that. How I was going to get high. Who I was going to beat. You understand what I'm saying? Who I was going to take them. I couldn't be thinking about living like that. I wouldn't have been able to get high. Not the way I was getting high. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now, page 99 in the big book, talking about the reunion with broken relationships. This is what it's talking about. When I have a reunion, like me and my old lady broke up or something, you know, and all of a sudden I get sober, right? And when I get sober, you know, we want to get back together because, you know, we want to get the back things. You say, if their old relationship is to be resumed, it must be on a better basis, since the former did not work. In other words, if nothing changes, nothing changes. That's what it's telling us. 12 and 12, page 116. They covered up some ground. It said, it became clear that if we ever were to feel emotionally secure among grown-up people, we would have to put our lives on a give and take basis. We would have to put our lives on a give and take basis. We would have to develop the sense of being in partnership or brotherhood with all those around us. Now, did everybody hear the things that I mentioned on a different basis?
Yes.
Did you all?
Yes.
Okay. If I ask y'all a question, answer me. Everybody heard that?
Yes. Yes.
All right. Now, if that's a different basis, and everything that we read is dealing with relationships with other people. Y'all see? All of that's dealing with personal and interpersonal relationship with other people. On that basis, we're almost always in collision with something or somebody, right? So most of that's dealing with my interactions with other people. So we want to look at relationships. I'm bringing this up because to show how consistent the big book is. And it's not inconsistent. How all of these words tie in with each other. How they got it to do like that, I don't know. I really don't know. Some people think the big book is divinely inspired. I don't know how they managed to put this kind of stuff together without me being able to find a loophole in it. I don't know how they did it, but they did. All of that's dealing with relationships, right? So we look at relationship, and we got to consider what the big book told us is the most important of relationships. It says, see to it that your relationship with Him is right. And great events will come to pass for you and what? Countless others, right? Yes. Countless others. They said, on page, that's 164. On page, I think it's 72, he says, we have been trying to get a new relationship with our Creator and to discover the obstacles in our path. On page 13, this is what Bill said. My friend promised when these things were done, I would enter upon a new relationship with my Creator. That I would have the elements of a way of living which answered all my problems. And I think in the 12 and 12 they told us it's from our twisted relationship with family and friends that most of us have suffered the most. Y'all remember that? Mm-hmm. It's from our twisted relationship with family and friends that most of us have suffered the most. I'm tying in the basis because all of this, what we talked about in the beginning, the result of all of these things resulted in twisted relationship with family, friends, and all other people, right?
Yes.
All of that stuff that I was doing, all that confusion that I was causing, is nothing but an outward sign of my inward condition. This is what Bill is pointing us to. It's an inside job. And it's look what he tells us. He tells us, even in step 3 prayer, take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help, other people, right? He's constantly going to other people, see what I'm saying?
Right.
Connecting them with other people. It's like some of us have been to other houses of worship, right? What did they tell us was the greatest commandment of all?
Yeah. No.
Love thy neighbor as thyself, right? Yeah. Other than the first one, right? Right?
Yeah.
And the big book tells us that the rule is that we should always be hard on ourselves, right?
Oh yeah, hard.
Right?
Yeah.
And considerate of others.
Yes.
The rule is that we should always be hard on ourselves and considerate of others. And what's the golden rule?
The
Do unto others what they do
Oh,
unto you.
Do unto who?
Others.
Others. Y'all heard that?
Yeah.
As what?
I should have them do unto you.
All right, so say they borrowed these principles from the fields of religion and medicine. And this is a workshop. We don't mind getting into it if we are coordinating what's being said from the book with this. You hear me? we don't mind getting into it. So all of that's dealing with relationships. Now, how did Bill tell us that the problem is going to be worked out? In a doctor's opinion, this is what he said. Y'all got this part, right?
Yes.
Okay, I'm going to put this to the side, and we're going to look at what Bill told us and the doctor. The doctor said, in the doctor's opinion, this is what Bill said. Though we work out our solution on the spiritual as well as the altruistic plane. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
Though we work out our solution on the spiritual as well as the altruistic plane. That's what he said. We work out our solution on the spiritual as well as the altruistic plane. Now when he said work out, see, people just read past that, right? Work out. Not think out. Or idealize out. Work out. Y'all ever heard of Jackie Wilson?
Yes, sir.
Huh?
Yeah.
Y'all know Jackie Wilson was an alcoholic?
No.
Jackie Wilson was an alcoholic. He suffered from alcoholism more than dope. For the last 3 years of his life, he was plagued with alcoholism. Y'all didn't know that? Jackie Wilson made a song called Work Out. Y'all ever heard that?
Yeah.
He said, oh, but y'all, what you didn't catch was this. He said, oh, my mama move up. Step 1, honey, move back. Step 2, shuffle to the left. Step 3, wobble to the right. Work out. Y'all remember that?
Yes.
Jackie Wilson was a real alcoholic. step one, step two. Y'all catch that?
I did.
When you listen to the song, he said, oh, my mama, move up, down. That's step one, honey, move back. Step two. That's exactly the way the song goes, if you listen to that.
Oh, wow.
So Jackie Wilson was a real alcoholic, especially for the people who had trouble doing the fourth step. He said, work out, work all night long. Y'all remember that?
Yes.
I'm not saying he tied it in with Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm just telling y'all what the song says.
Okay.
Now, where was that? Don't we work out our solution, right? On the spiritual as well as the altruistic plane. We talk about how consistent this big book is with itself. Altruistic. Altruistic. Other than doing something for somebody when somebody ain't looking, or doing something somebody free of charge and at the cost of myself, when you look at what altruistic really means, what it really means is this. Because when you look it up in the dictionary, most people stop at what's written, but they don't look up what the word comes from.
Okay.
In the dictionary, they tell you what language this word and what makes this word up. Y'all hear me? Here's it come from a French word. This is it. And if you look in the dictionary, you're going to see that I'm correct. Because, I don't bring y'all nothing that I can't back up. Y'all hear me?
No.
I don't do that. Altruistic, that's what the French word, it means others.
Okay.
Others. Y'all hear that?
Yes.
Others. And the other word came from Latin. Alter. Meaning other people. Y'all hear me? Other people. That's what it means. This is where it come from, the root of it. Altruistic. Break down the root meaning of that word is others and other people. That's what altruistic means. So the solution is worked out on the spiritual as well as the altruistic plane. When you look in the book, you'll see that our solution was worked out on the altruistic plane from the beginning. Take away my difficulties. That victory over them may be a witness to those I will help. Y'all remember that? Step 3. We became less and less interested in ourselves. And more we became interested in seeing what we could contribute to other people. Y'all remember that? Step 7. How step 7 put it? Because it was dealing with other people. I'm now ready that you have all of me good and the bad. I pray that you now take away every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows, right?
Yeah.
Our solution is worked out on the altruistic plane, about other people. 8th step is about what? Other people that I messed over, right? 9th step is all about other people, right or wrong. The solution is worked out on the spiritual as well as the altruistic plane. So the 10th step, when I was messing over people and didn't think twice about it, as soon as I do so now, when wrong, I'm supposed to do what? Promptly admit it, right? Right? 11th step telling me every night go home and check yourself out. What you're thinking about yourself most of the time, or what you're thinking about what you can contribute to the stream of life, right? Of others and what I can do for others, right? We got a whole 7th chapter in the book called Working with Who? Self? Or others. See, the solution is worked out on the altruistic plane. And altruistic means others and other people. That's how we work our solution out. With other people. The first commandment, I love the Lord thy God with all my heart, with all my soul, and all thy mind. Y'all remember that? But they said the second command is almost greater than the first one, right?
Yeah.
Love thy neighbor as thyself. We talked about that, right? I can't do one without doing the other.
Okay.
Y'all heard?
Okay.
I can't do one without doing. The only way you're going to know that if I'm in love with God, you know, because you know, a lot of people come up here telling us, I love the Lord and I love everybody. But everybody come up here with a resentment list. Am I right or wrong?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you say you love God who you ain't never seen, you hate your brother who you see every day, the book says you're a damn liar. The truth ain't in you. Am I right or wrong? You might have not said it like that. But basically that's what it was telling us, right or wrong? Okay, so this is how our solution is worked out, and to show you how Bill and them understood this. Bill and them actually understood what I'm telling y'all right now, because this is what he says. I want to make sure we got this right. This part we got to get right. Hoping Jesse ain't been messing with one of my papers.
Here's some papers right here.
This is it. Okay, bless your soul. She on it, y'all. She on it. No, this ain't the one I'm looking for. I'm kind of like aware of the time.
Doing good. I have spoken.
Oh, here it is up here. Okay, here it is up here. Now, what I told y'all, we're trying to connect all of this, right, with others. Show you how well put together the big book is. Not how smart Kenneth is. This has been in the book since before I came into the program. So I'm not coming up with nothing new. Y'all hear me? I'm not coming up with nothing new at all. This has been in the book since before I came into the program. We talking about altruism from French and Latin, others, other people. This is how the solution is worked out on the altruistic plane. And what you call him, the doctor, he said, we doctors have seen nothing which has contributed more to the rehabilitation of these men than the altruistic movement now growing up among them.
Yes.
Y'all hear?
Yes.
He called it a movement. Bill called it a plane. In other words, the plane is moving. So, and this is just a reality all through the step. Now, the doctor's opinion, page 25. This is what they say. As part of his rehabilitation, he commenced to present his conception to other alcoholics. Y'all hear this word, other?
Yeah.
To other alcoholics, impressing upon them that they must do likewise with still others. That they must do likewise with still others. From this we get that Bill was not trying to create sponsees. Bill was trying to create sponsors, impressing upon them that they must do likewise with still others.
Okay.
On page 3 in the big book, Bill said, never was I to pray for myself, except as my request bore on my usefulness to others. That might not be page 3, but I think it's in there somewhere. Y'all hear me? That's too quick, man, but it's written like that. Never was I to pray for myself, except as my request bore on my usefulness to others. Now, page 14 in the big book, Bill said, while I lay in the hospital, the thought came that there were thousands of hopeless alcoholics who might be glad to have what had been so freely given to me. Perhaps I could help some of them. They in turn might work with others. Y'all hear this word coming up? Bill wasn't thinking about working with one alcoholic. Bill was thinking about working with thousands, of helping thousands of people. Dr. Bob worked with over 5,000 alcoholics. He's the only one got that world record. I don't have that yet. It's Dr. Bob. He said on this is page, I think this is 14. Bill said, my friend had emphasized the absolute necessity of demonstrating these principles in all my affairs. Particularly, was it imperative to work with others as he had worked with me. And how appallingly true for the alcoholic. For if an alcoholic failed to perfect and enlarge his spiritual life through work and self-sacrifice for others, he could not survive the certain trials and low spots ahead. He didn't say he would not, he said he could not survive the certain trials and low spots that lie ahead. He said, Bill said in another part of the book, he said, this sometimes drove me to drink. Some issue came up, he said, this sometimes drove me to drink. But I soon found that when all other measures failed, work with an other. It's another, but when you look at another, it's an other. Am I right or wrong?
Yes.
And other alcoholic was said today. Page 59. They tell us, we made the recommends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or who? Others, right? Page 70. If sex is very troublesome, we throw ourselves the harder into helping others. That shows you why a bunch of us work with a lot of people. Right there. Y'all hear that? That's what he said. Page 19 and 20 in the big book. Most of us sense that real tolerance of other people's shortcomings and viewpoints, and a respect for their opinions or attitudes which make us more useful to others. Y'all see how many times this book is interconnecting these words, and it's all connected with this, and it's all connected with the base? It's all connected. He said, page 74, the rule is, we said that, we must be hard on ourselves, but always considerate of others. Page 84, no matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. Now, here's a reminder of one of the main reasons why we do this. The alcoholic, this is a reminder of one of the main reasons why we do this. The alcoholic is like a tornado. In our case, a lot of our cases, we were like tornadoes, right? But the alcoholic, he said the alcoholic is like a tornado roaring his way through the lives of others. Page 86. But we must be careful not to drift into worry, remorse, or morbid reflection. For that would diminish our usefulness to others. Let me ask y'all a question. Did y'all see all of this connected like this?
No.
Answer me.
No.
No, I didn't.
Okay, all right.
No.
To the wives, page 119. Both of you will awaken to a new sense of responsibility for others. The family afterwards, page 123. Suppose we tell you some of the obstacles a family will meet. Suppose we suggest how they may be avoided, even to good use for others. Page 124. Cling. This is the second time they use that word cling. Cling to the thought that in God's hand, the dark past is the greatest possession you have. The key to life and happiness for others. Page 132. We have recovered. Y'all remember that? Why shouldn't we laugh? Y'all remember that? Okay. We have recovered and been given the power to help others. Page 164. See to it, we talked about that. See to it that your relationship with Him is right, and great events will come to pass for you and countless others. Okay. All right. I'm going to read one more, which should suggest one of the main, most important reasons why we do this. And this is coming from page 20. He'll say this. Our very lives as ex-problem drinkers depends upon our constant thought of others
Oh, wow.
and how we may help meet their needs. Our very lives
Okay.
as ex-problem drinkers. Ain't that enough reason to do it?
Right.
You know, our very lives as ex-problem drinkers depend upon our constant thought of others and how we may help meet their needs. I'm talking about getting completely out of self. Now, let's look at this and try to figure out now how all of this came about. How did we move from one basis to the next? How did we go about from one basis to the next basis, to the different bases? We put up bases on, we talked about from 60 to 63, how we was always messed up and messing over other people, right? That's on that basis, right?
Yeah.
And then we went to the different bases. We're showing how we are now as a result of going through the steps. Y'all.
Right.
Okay, so let's see how that happened. And this is what we want to look at. The big book uses terms like this.
Oh, we.
The big book uses terms and words like this. Fundamental. Root. Those of us that been here a while, y'all recognize this, right?
Yeah.
Root. Taproot. Ideals. Attitudes. Psychic change. Spiritual awakening. Ideas. Rock bottom. Y'all remember these terms that the big book used?
Yes.
None of these are physical. None of them. Just like none of the promises are physical. The walk. What happened? What happened? How did we go from one basis to another basis? We went to war. We went to war. Bill said we have written a book which we believe to be spiritual as well as moral. Right or wrong? Didn't he say that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's the first word of the big book? What's the first word of the big book?
Where?
It's war.
Oh, yeah. I heard this story.
On page 1.
Story.
It's war. That's not accidental.
War.
We went to war. We waged spiritual warfare against this illness. Y'all hear me?
Yes.
Y'all understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
The other book tells us there was war in heaven. Y'all remember that?
Yes.
When such and such fought, and the other angels fought, and the other one was cast down. Y'all remember that? There was war in heaven, remember? He was cast down, not thrown down. Y'all hear me?
Yes.
Ideas, attitudes, and emotions, which was once the ruling forces of the lives of these men, was suddenly cast to one side, right? Ain't that what they said?
Yeah.
There's a difference between cast and thrown. Bill said cast to one side, and a completely new set of motives begin to dominate them. Motives and conceptions begin to dominate them, right? That's what he said. So we went to war. We went to war on an unseen level. We went to war fundamentally, attacking the basis, to the basic root. Some people say
Oh, wow.
we're dealing with things that's unseen.
That's right.
Another book told us that we wrestle not against flesh and blood,
Come on.
but against powers, principalities, forces, right? Spiritual wickedness in high places. I got to understand what them high places is at.
Okay, what is that playing?
You understand? So Satan gets cast down. You know, because he up there trying to run the show, right?
Shut up.
He's running the show, ain't he? The big book tells us the first thing we had to do was quit playing God, right or wrong?
Yes.
And that's what he was trying to do. So what they did us is they gave us the principles of the religion
Right.
and completely eliminated the personalities. That's what they did. They gave us the principles and completely eliminated the personality because we get thrown off by the personality. Y'all hear me?
Yes.
You know, that's one of the reasons why Jews, Muslims, Christians, atheists, agnostics, Hindus, Buddhists, Baptists, protesters, Catholics, religious people, non-religious people, all of us can come up here and say the Our Father's prayer.
Come on, come on.
Right or wrong?
Yeah.
Yes.
And all of us are up in here and we bound by our traditions, yet we bound by our traditions not to get religious. Am I right or wrong?
Right.
We include everybody and exclude no one. Right or wrong?
That's
The religions ain't doing that. Y'all hear me?
No,
They ain't doing that.
No.
This is what God wants us to do.
Yeah.
Love thy neighbor as thyself. If there's a Ku Klux Klanman that I got to take through the step, I'm going to take him through the step. And I say that because I've done it already. Y'all hear what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
I done done it already.
Yeah.
So we include everybody because we want to walk. Or we engage in spiritual warfare. That's what the steps did. So if you don't want to go to war with this illness, don't touch the steps. Leave the steps alone. Y'all hear me? Because the steps ain't playing, God ain't playing, this illness ain't playing, and I can't be bullshitting. Y'all hear what I'm saying?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully,
Yeah.
we done got something from what's been presented. We can hopefully see that this book is entirely consistent with itself. I have studied this book and I've completely and scientifically investigated this book and could not find one loophole. And I'm a lawyer in prison. That's what I do. People pay me to find loopholes. And I couldn't find one loophole in this big book. All of them words. See, with all of them interchanging of words, if I'd have found one that was inconsistent with the other, I could have used it as a basis to condemn the whole book. You know how alcoholics come up here and somebody says something and they see somebody do something and they condemn the whole program by what they didn't see one person do or say?
Right.
Y'all hear what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know, I find one word out of whack and I can say, well, this can't be so because such and such. I condemn the whole program. Because I done found one word out of... Y'all done seen people looking for excuses? Am I right or wrong?
Right.
Yes.
Right.
All right, well, we went to war. We done talked about a different basis. On the basis we was on, we hopefully showed the change and how the change came about. And we was blessed enough to complete the topic. Because last week, we couldn't complete the topic. Susan told me, if I stay on that basis, that long, she said, you'll never get to the solution. And I tried to do it any god doggone way and never got to the solution. You understand what I'm saying? So we had to come back for part 2 so we can close that. Y'all remember that? The ones that y'all was here? Who was here? Y'all remember that, right? Anybody was here last month? Okay, well, this is what happened. You was here. She wasn't here either. Anyway, that's what happened, y'all. We couldn't complete the topic because I stayed in the problem too long, but I had to, not justifying, in order to get the people to understand what we setting up and what we talking about. So we had to go to 60 to 63 to show what Bill was saying. All of these words is non-physical. All of them. None of them are physical. The war takes place within. So we didn't reach about the end of the workshop, and this is on a CD. Like last month was on a CD. Only we have the CD now, present. So this presentation is going to be available next month. So we got food, hopefully. We got some food up there. So everybody, did you pass the 7th tradition?
Yes.
Okay, she done that. Caught that. I didn't even see it.
Brad did it.
Question. I passed.
Yes, Brad did it.
Brad passed up.
Brad passed it. Give him credit. Brad passed it.
So okay, y'all sit with me, y'all, and join me for a moment of silence. We're gonna say the serenity prayer. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, Courage to change things out here. And the wisdom to know the difference. Does anybody have any questions before we eat? Because after this, we got food out there, got tapes out there, and all this kind of stuff. Anybody got any questions? Hey, Richard, how you doing?
All right, then.
You got a question?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
What specifically is the difference between cast and throw? If I cast a die, I throw a die. So why did you make that distinction?
Okay. Did everybody hear the question?
Yes.
Before I deal with that, does anybody want to answer that? Because they are spelled differently, right? When I cast something, it's like they had somebody was fishing a long time ago, and they wasn't catching nothing. And somebody walked up to the sink, they didn't know what the hell they were doing, and told him, said, you got your goddamn net cast on the wrong side. Cast your net on the right side, you know, because you messing up with that cast. Y'all remember that? Mm-hmm. The demons we mentioned was cast out, was not thrown out. Remember? Mm-hmm. Like the demons was cast out of the man, they wasn't thrown out, they was cast out. The word cast carries a different connotation than thrown. Because when you look up the word thrown and you look up the word cast, they'll tell you that to cast something, you like casting it with a certain like fling. That thrown don't carry that significance. So when they use the word cast, Bill and them connect this word cast with the principles that they got from the religious use of the word. And so they use that because when they tell us to say ideas anymore was cast to one side. See, cast here to one side and thrown represents a physical thing. You heard? If I'm throwing something, it represents something physical. Cast carries a spiritual connotation. Y'all understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
It casts, thrown, it ain't the same. Come on.
In another layman's term, cast means to never come back. Thrown, you have an option to come back.
Yeah, like some people throw a pipe away.
They can go back.
Yeah, they come back and get it. That's what you talking about.
Some people really are good about this. Cast means never return.
Yeah. Come on.
Could it be more force when you cast something? So you got some help when you cast something. You come back and you.
Well,
So it's more force than just to throw.
Yeah, and in a spiritual sense,
it's more work.
More work. And y'all remember the old saying, the demon was cast out?
Yes.
All right, they wasn't thrown out, right?
Yes.
They was cast out, because thrown implies something physical. But see, they was cast to one side. You see what I'm saying? Not out. Only to one side, because they'll crop up again.
Okay.
Y'all remember the book tells us they'll crop up again? When these things crop up, they'll crop up again. So it wasn't thrown out, it was cast to one side. And they told us about the demons, that if you're not careful, once they're cast out, if you don't keep that house clean, that son of a gun to come back and bring 7 more worse than himself. You hear me?
Yeah.
I have a question. When we are talking about living at different bases, I understood that the different base is the spiritual base. That is when you are living in tolerance, with honesty and true love to others and God, right? Or am I wrong about it?
Well, one thing I don't do is tell people they're wrong. I don't do that. Whenever you sharing what you getting from this is what you getting from it. I can't tell you wrong because that's what you got from it. Y'all hear what I'm saying? And I'm open-minded. I'm not the know-it-all. I don't know everything. But I agree with you.
But what is then the meaning of living in different bases? Just to be clarified.
Good question. The base is the bottom. The base represents the bottom. All right? So the base, like in baseball, if I'm off base and get hit, what they say?
Out.
He's out. And what we say when they get off base and hit, he went out. Right? That's what they tell us, right? So they got a thing become called off base. And then when you see it, the base got two connotations. They got base, which means low down, wicked, immoral. You see what I'm saying? The base. If I'm operating from a base level, like sex is a lust of our base, a base necessity, that means I'm not operating the way the high level is supposed to be created. I'm operating on it from the low level. Like I meet somebody, 15 minutes later, we done the do. 20 minutes later, I don't know her name.
No,
you see what I'm saying? So, I'm not operating on that basis no more. You see what I'm saying? I moved from that basis. Don't get me wrong. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I can become a saint all of a sudden. I don't mean
Come on. Yeah. Right.
I don't mean to imply that.
Right.
But we're on a different base because the inward situation has changed.
Yeah.
And so the outward automatically changes. You see, once I change the inward, the outward, you see it long before I do sometimes. They say friends of the newcomer are aware of the change long before he is himself.
Yes.
So when people come up here and start telling us, well, I have changed. I have changed. Well, I'm supposed to see that before you.
Okay.
You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
We don't know. You know the tree by the fruit it bears.
Okay.
Right or wrong?
Yep.
If I come up here and tell you I love God, and I believe in God, and you see me messing over people every day, and not caring for people, I ain't trying to help nobody. Who am I lying to? You or myself? You're going to see it in my actions, right or wrong? This is a spiritual program of action. Am I right or wrong?
Yes.
It ain't about what I say. You know what they told us? A funky pair of lips say anything. They told us that. Didn't they? It's about a more important demonstration of these principles lies ahead in our homes and on our respective jobs. And they just gave us that. They gave us the demonstration on the homes with the wives and on the jobs. See, when they say a more important demonstration lies ahead, it also means in the book. It means a more important demonstration of these principles lies ahead in the book. And then after that, they went to the wives. That's the more important demonstration. The family afterward, and to the employer. So when they say a more important demonstration lies ahead, that means they got yet to show you how it's done. First they give us all this information. And then when we get to the family afterward, they give us all these different scenarios in which we can demonstrate the principle. With the wives, with the family, and on the job. That's why these quotes came from the wives, the families, and the job. Our interactions with other people. That's the only way you're going to know that somebody done been to the mountain. The only way the people know Moses went to the mountain if he brought somebody else to the mountain. In other words, he was up on a mountain. Y'all remember Carlton Heston movie? The movie, Ten Commandments? Moses up in the mountain, right? Talking with God. And God said, yeah, Moses, I love you. And I know you love me too. But get your ass down from here and go back over there and bring them other motherfuckers to the mountain. Yeah, and that's what happened. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Say, we sure God wants us to be in the spiritual clouds with Him. But He also wants our feet to be on the ground where our fellow travelers at, right?
Yeah.
That's how we demonstrate. Right or wrong?
Yes, that's right.
That's how we demonstrate it. It ain't about talking a good program.
No.
It's about action. It's all about what I do. It's all about what I do. I have to demonstrate it. That makes sense to y'all?
Yeah.
Y'all go eat that.
Okay.